All right, welcome back to another board drill breakdown. That's right, Matt.
Ooh,
We got together and we realized that we kept calling things quick hits, and they went on for 20 minutes, and they weren't very quick. So we're gonna pivot to a board drill breakdown. Matt, you know the drill. You don't really have any idea what we're doing tonight, but I've curated a playlist from an article you wrote about Utah running GT Bash. So let's flip it up.
ooh.
Let's break it down. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. While I'm sharing my screen, remember to like and subscribe. That way we make more videos like this. The more you like and subscribe, the more we make videos like this, so you can see more breakdowns. So if you enjoy any of this, like and subscribe. All right, Matt.
All right, so
Here we go.
let's talk about Utah real quick.
Yeah.
Maybe for those that this is the first thing they've seen of us talking about Utah, man, they were a quarterback run-heavy team in general. Quarterback couldn't do a lot downfield, so they relied on play action, screen, and then heavy quarterback run. So this fit right into that philosophy of theirs.
So each play, I'm going to show the sideline just so you get a gist of the formation, and then we're going to go to the part that really matters when we talk about run game, the end zone view. So here we go, Matt. I'm going to let you kind of start this one off.
Yeah, so here we have a tight end to the left side, a wing to the right. So they show somewhat a balanced formation. Very common for Utah to do. Front side, we get the classic down block. So you're dealing with, looks like a 4-eye there, a B-gap defender. You want to make sure your tackle tight end can down him to the mic. And then you're going to look to kick 9 and wrap for next. With Wyoming here, it's going to be 7 or 3 in that secondary. Beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean, the big thing for me here is it's just to start off, like the bash, and you're going to see it later when they start like midline bashing, it gets disgusting. But again, the bash, about the way you play defense, right? You have to allocate defenders to basically what is essentially a sweep. All right, if we really break it down. And then obviously the core run concept, which is GT counter here. GT counter is hard enough to stop by itself. Once you add another element to it, it really struggles to allocate players to the right side of the football here, right? And we see that Wyoming has guys that they're distributing to the front side. They can't get enough guys backside here. And, it gives Utah a nice gain here again. I mean, look where the tackler comes from. He's like the opposite nickel or corner all the way across the field. He's the guy who makes tackle.
Yep. Yeah, and it puts a lot of stress horizontally on that defense, especially when you run that jet sweep to the wide side of the field. That puts some stress there.
All right, next clip's against BYU. So now we have pre-snap shift with it, which makes it even better. And here's one of the midlines, it looks like. So again, we'll kind of let you see it from the sideline before we go to the end zone shot here.
So here they're going to be looking at number 48, the 3 technique here. And that's the guy they're going to be reading if it's a midline here. It looks like it is, where they're going to pull center guard to the play side and down block with the guard tackle.
Sorry, 55. 55. Yep, my bad.
55 is the guy.
So here it is right here. And I mean, I just, if you freeze the picture when they're reading it, I mean, look at all this meat out here blocking this direction. And then you have 2 guys pulling this direction. Again, at some point it becomes nightmare fuel. And that's what it is here, especially when you have a dynamic quarterback like this.
And then, you do a lot to teach the ends. If you run a true 4-3, you teach the ends how to feather things and how you want them to play it. When you throw a 3 technique as the read, all of a sudden, that kid isn't coached up as well.
Correct. So just a great clip here, and they get better. Matt, I swear I start highlighting the midline guy at some point. I do a better job telestrating, I promise.
We'll see.
So here's another one, I believe. Is this when we start doing a little CG counter?
This is the guard center. Right, so guard center working out, reading the B-gap defender. So you're watching,
so
there he is. There we go. Yeah, so you're going to be reading 93 here. That's the midline read. Notice the tight end, the on-ball tight end working straight up to backer, which allows that tackle to try to reach to the edge.
Yeah, we call him a tight end, but he's another ball. He's a 6th lineman, let's be real.
He's actually a defensive tackle.
Is he? There you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one is, and again, this one's played a little better by the defense here because the squeeze is so good here. And right, the G comes around and just runs into the back of the counter or the puller, the kick puller. But still a good example of just seeing the different layers and different ability. Once you start throwing in midline reads to everything, it I gotta be honest, as a DC, it's not a thing I like to see. So
All
here we
right,
go
another
again.
one to the boundary. Yeah.
Now this one is right. My quarterback's a better player than you, because on paper this is what it looks like. We see the midline player to our left here, and really this isn't fit poorly. I mean, they have guys there. I mean, look, there's 3 guys around the quarterback right now.
Yeah, I think he sees that middle area open so quickly, and that linebacker run over the top that he thinks he's just going to fit it in there. 44 does a good job squaring him up.
And really the D end here does a great job squeezing. Watch him, little squeeze, little wrong arm, and then gets vertical, and he's set. I mean, right, this should be a tackle for loss. But boy, sometimes it's nice to be athletic, huh? And I think that's part of the Q run game, right? You typically have at least one less fitter, and now if your quarterback's athletic, he may only have to make one guy miss, and all he does is make that linebacker miss, and he's off to the races.
But look at the space that's there initially when your left side of the defense is going left, right side's going right. Just stretches the defense there in the middle.
Right, and that goes back to the midline, right? This guy can't decide who he wants to take. I mean, typically, again, if you're playing a dynamic quarterback, we're telling this dude, take the quarterback, right? But like you said, he's a guy that's not used to being read. Does he go with the eye candy? Does the dangerous quarterback get the ball because of that? And here it does. Again, I don't know their read. He may have done the right thing, but good God. Don't let Utah keep the ball in that guy's hands. Make him hand it off. All right, a little action against Nebraska here. Got good variety.
Very good. A lot of different formations, personnel sets you saw this year from Utah. A lot of heavy multi tight end sets / D linemen that they could throw in the game.
Yeah. I think this is a good one because, right, an empty set for all intents and purposes. And then they're going to use that guy as the bash guy, right? So this is actually going to be the bash player, which I really love here.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to illustrate it here. This guy is going to squeeze and really try to end up inside. He's going to, the tackle does a great job being patient and then catching the D end in the down block. And now you have 2 pullers on the edge, and it's a thing of beauty for a guy like Matt.
Yeah.
Right? There's the midline read. They squeeze, and now look, I've got 2 big bodies out in the middle of nowhere. I'd almost encourage 68 to just keep getting upfield a little more. He probably could have gotten to safety, right. He's looking in here, correct, yeah, and it's like, just get up the hash. So, but I think this is a beautiful example of what happens, right? You get a team that starts over squeezing, and really, Matt, talk about this because, I don't know much about it or how you guys teach it. The tackle being patient here and making sure to take this guy on the down block.
Yeah, if you have an A-gap defender, I mean, the best you could really, that offensive lineman is gap down backer. He'd have to get all the way to number 9, the linebacker on the other side, the backside linebacker, who's most likely going to get over the top on the jet sweep, right? So he has the opportunity to stay patient here, and he sees that. I'm sure he saw number 16 go A-gap, shoot A-gap, and here comes 11 right to my chest. So, don't leave him past the climb. Take your time with that when you don't have to rush to get there. With that, the defense set up the way it was, he could afford that.
Yeah, and I would argue this, and I'll say it till I'm kind of blue in the face of, I know they're getting midline, but that midline guy makes a big difference. If that midline guy works towards bash, then that interior backer has to work towards counter, right? Yeah. And vice versa, right? If the midline guy takes dive, and I don't know if I have the telestration tool in here because I might. So if this guy takes bash, he's got to fit over top. I guess I got to hit it every time. There we go. Right. And then vice versa. Can I move it? Nope, I cannot. If this guy takes quarterback, now he's got to start thinking, I've got to go here. So, and again, I think it goes back to Matt. I don't know at this point in the year, maybe whether people should know. I don't know when they played Nebraska, but, if you start seeing midline, you have to start coaching your guys up. Hey, if he's getting midline, do this, do that, right? And they got caught. Frankly, they got caught in a slant here too, which didn't help. So made things worse. Or at least if that's not a slant, that's really, really bad. All right, next one. Here's another one out of empty. I really enjoyed the way they got to bash. This is at one point, Matt, this is a different game. I saw someone else have a guy go up. He fake, the quarterback sneak when they run another player up there to take it. They ran the guy. This is a completely different team, by the way. So sorry. They ran a guy up there to fake the sneak. Then he motioned out and then he wrapped back around as the orbit player. I was like, this is ridiculous. I love it.
And Utah had like I said, a ton of different formations, personnel sets, but you saw them run the same plays over and over and over. Whether it be GT counter, the GC, we're going to read the 3 technique. Long trap was a big one for them. Long trap was probably every third play they ran long trap this year. But they had their standard gap scheme runs that they were going to run, but they're going to dress it up, use different players to get there.
And by the way, if you're a Michigan fan, this might look familiar next year, especially with a mobile quarterback that can run. I know, obviously, the guy in Michigan throws a lot better than the guy in Utah, but I wouldn't be shocked if you saw some of this Q run stuff. So here it is, just GT counter, right, with the bash action. I think he's going to give the bash here, right? Just reads the DN. The DN is coming, flat or mesh charging. It's an easy handoff for a quarterback, right? Cool. Again, just give speed the ball when the read's there.
Those offensive tackles, when they played odd fronts, very patient. If that guy wants to stun across, send him across.
Yep. And I think that's the big piece of, that probably goes back to the Kyle Whittingham stuff, right? The guy's a guru when it comes to run game and O-line stuff. He's a great head coach, but those guys are always so good at that stuff with him. And he's been at Utah since what? Since Meyer? It had to be like 20 years, man.
At least.
Yep. All right, here we go again. Yep. So here's another kind of orbit. This may be their second to last clip. So orbit, another CG counter, and this one works a little better than the last one. Goes a long way. So let's see it from the back end here. It's a great view right here.
Yeah, once again to the field, you see your 3 technique you got there, your B-gap defender, leave him on an island, make him make a decision.
And Matt, what I love about this is to the edge, it really is. If you're a team that runs like pin and pull, buck sweep, things like this, I know they're different players, but that's all it is to the edge, right? You're trying to pin the end guy in the line of scrimmage and pull 2 guys around him. So whether that's your traditional sweep or a lot of people run toss this way, right? That this is just built off of another. It's really, to me, it's 2 running plays combined, right? And so I don't think there's a whole lot of extra teaching here, Matt, other than it's a different play name, right? Hey, left side run toss or whatever you want to call it. Right side, we're running GT. In this case, it's CG, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can pretty much blend 2 concepts there. I love them being able to get that offensive tackle out in space to the bash side.
Yeah, and it is. It's just, again, you go through guys and who's available, and then they blitz, and it really lives a minute. Once you start blitzing like that, and now you only have one more guy on the next layer, and it's like, uh-oh. And then the backside linebacker went with the bash, like we talked about. Yep. So,
and they only have, they only have 2 down linemen. Utah does, to the strength, out of this empty set. So, we've seen it with tight ends. Well, now you got pretty much 2 for 2. You're not going to be able to work to the backside linebacker. That guy, if he makes the play, he makes the play. Hopefully your puller can get him if he becomes a threat. But, he's at that point, you're hoping he's gone.
Matt, talk about this footwork by the right tackle here. I feel like it's good, but I'm not an O-line guy. I mean, just look at this smooth bang.
Yeah, it's smooth. Maybe his feet get a little bit too close together at some point. I wasn't big on the slide inside on the run. I always felt like I had to get my guys to run off the ball.
Okay. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong. That's why I'm not an O-line guy.
No, I mean, high school kids are a little bit different. They don't have the power that 74 has, right? So watch how he stays square. Are you talking about 74 or 70?
Yeah, 74. I just felt like he did a good job of just being patient here and taking on a blitzer.
Yeah, he did. And like I said, you're not getting to the backside linebacker there, so stay patient. See who enters the B gap and take them. If I felt like if I tried to get a high school kid to do that, the kids I had, blitzer coming, they'd end up on their rear. Making sure we used extra OxyClean on their jersey. But yeah, I mean, if you can get your guys to do that and stay square, that's awesome.
All right, last clip here, Matt. Against Kansas, we had just great variety in this playlist. So here we go. Now kind of more of a traditional, it's 11 personnel, but a little 2x2 set. And we get jet motion with it. So this is now it's kind of a little bit of a lead with it on the bash action. See it from the backside here. It's going to be GT again. So again, GT here versus regular even front 6-man box. And again, I can tell you right now, at this point, both linebackers went the wrong way. Toast.
Right away. But I mean, there are a lot of examples this year of Utah handing that ball off, but for this playlist, we kept most of those keepers.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so you see this action, and on the snap of the ball, you see this guy's already exited, and this guy ends up all the way here. I mean, there's when you have a lineman running vertical for safety, it's a good problem, I'm guessing, on offense.
Yeah.
And it's a nightmare for the safety. Can you imagine just this 300-pound lineman? You're like, oh, crap. I know, because I've been there before at corner when they pull out on a sweep or something. You're just like, this sucks, but it's life.
Oh, that's what we want. We want those O tackles getting out to them pencil neck corners, making a play.
Yeah, so that was, again, we just want to go through, a lot of our articles that we write. And again, if you want to read the whole article, go to boarddrill.com and check out Matt's full article on the Utah Bash. But, we like to, these articles that do well, we want to come back and shoot some videos on them and just talk about them a little bit here on YouTube where people can kind of see and visualize and listen to us talk about it, right? Because, you read the words that we write, and sometimes it's better just listen us to get on here and just, because we can't write about every aspect of it, right? We want to write a small paragraph about each play, and then we've got to move on, right? We're not there to write a book, but it's a little better if we can sit here and talk for 20 minutes on, a set of 8 plays. But that was one thing that stuck out for us. I know Matt wrote several articles on Utah, but boy, were they explosive in the quarterback bash stuff, because it just allowed them to do that. And then at some point, Matt, I know you went through this and you put it in your article. They'd run bash and then run the guy on a rail and do all kinds of RPO and play action stuff off of those looks. So again, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, if you have a really athletic quarterback at the high school level, go check out some of the Utah stuff that Matt wrote. They're very dynamic with their quarterback, and he was a limited passer. So if that's kind of what you have on offense, a lot of us just went through spring football. If you're going, we got to find a way to manufacture some pass game, you may want to check out these articles that Matt wrote, because I thought Utah did a great job with his skill set, right? I do think he was a limited passer, but boy, was he explosive.
Yeah, it was an interesting film to watch. The whole study, it was completely different than any other college football team we saw this year. The creativity that they used in the multi-formation sets and shifts and motions to get what they wanted to get out of the defense. But it was something that you'd see more on a Friday night than you would on a typical Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me and Matt, we appreciate you guys tuning in to another Board Drill Breakdown. We'll see you next time.